Welcome back, everyone, to week number 8 of Producers and Consumers of Research. For this week, what we're talking about is the analysis of the data that you've collected through your research. So, looking at quantitative and qualitative analysis. Hopefully, throughout the development of the research objectives, things like that, you've already considered how you're planning on using the information that you gather. Okay, so by the time you get to the analysis, most of it shouldn't be a surprise, although, like anything, especially anything in the real world, there's always going to be some things you didn't anticipate. That's fine. Part of doing the analysis is being naturally curious and taking a look at what you've got there and continuously asking yourself new questions. What if this? What about that? Who knows? You may find some interesting stuff that you hadn't thought about before, and that's the beauty of research. So have fun with it. I guess a few cautions with any of this sort of stuff is with quantitative analysis, there are many different computer programs that can help you. SPSS is probably one of the best known, although you can do analyses with Excel or even some of the supplied programs that come with things like SurveyMonkey. Always think about what the information and what the analysis is actually doing, because it's very easy in something like SPSS to do a crosstab, find a mean, a median, a mode, whatever the case may be, and that information is only as useful and as valid as the researcher and the research behind it. Okay? Sometimes an average, for example, an average may not mean anything. Get to know the difference between average, median, and mode. And I'll give you an example of that. On average, if you had one hand in boiling hot water and one hand in freezing cold water, on average, you're probably comfortable. However, if that were to happen to one of you, I'm sure you would be less than comfortable. So think about that as just a very broad example, but something to consider. Qualitative analysis is no more difficult or no less difficult than doing quantitative analyses. Again, think about what objectives you are trying to accomplish and go through the information carefully, thinking about what's driving it, who your audience is, things like that. Okay? Something else we talk about in this section, again, is triangulation. And triangulation is when you're using two or more methods to kind of as a check and a balance to make sure that things, that your research results, that the stuff that you're finding out makes sense and that it's that much more valid. That isn't quite the same as mixed methods, or it's not necessarily the same as mixed methods, because mixed methods can just be supplementing information, using qualitative to supplement quantitative. Slightly different, but not exactly triangulation. Okay? Think of triangulation as people sometimes do with a GPS system. Triangulation, you're taking 3 different satellites, boom, based on those 3 satellites, they can figure out almost exactly where you are. Same sort of thing when you triangulate with research. Okay? So, things to consider and not get mixed up with when you're talking about research. Again, whole debate about qualitative versus quantitative, and making sure that you're consistent and very cautious in how you're doing analysis, trying to be as objective as possible. Don't jump to your conclusions. It's very difficult at times not to. And as someone who's done a lot of qualitative research, especially things like focus groups and that, it's very difficult at times to remain completely objective. Someone says something, you read something, you look at something, and you immediately go to that next step, or you either say it confirms or denies before you've thought through the process and checked things out, okay? So, just some things to consider, alright? Alright, take it easy and have a good day, guys.